Welcome to the show, Alice. I'm so excited to have you here. We go way, way back. As I mentioned in the intro, Alice and I have been friends for over 10 years, and it all started in a little business called Tower Paddleboards.
So good.
Here we
Our
are.
little shared office.
We had a lot of memories, and with our dogs, Layla and Charlie, and yeah, so
The
good.
best.
Ugh.
The
But
best of
here you
times.
are. Here you are. Fast forward, we ended up working with one another at Amy Porterfield, which was so fun, and so fun how you came back into my life, and now we've been able to do this, and you are now doing amazing things on your own. And we're going to dive into all the things, but I want to kick it off with something juicy. What is one thing you feel people are getting wrong about marketing these days, and why?
Hey, yes. Thank you so much for having me on. So excited to connect with you. What is one thing that people are getting wrong with their marketing these days? I might give you two because two things come to mind. But one is definitely not enough differentiation, I would say. As we know, the space, and by the space, I mean like the online education, the coaching space, is more saturated than ever, which is not a bad thing. It's a growing and booming industry, but it really calls forward the need to have very specific transformation that we're speaking to and being, really forthcoming with what our unique value is. I would say that I see a lot of people selling benefits and bonuses and that kind of thing. And it starts to kind of sound like three other things I've read during my scroll session. So I'd say not focusing enough on differentiating and speaking to that actual result and transformation. The second thing that came to mind is not enough focus on generating leads and like growing an audience and having new people to launch to as you continue to grow and scale. See a lot of people like start with a great, audience base, wherever that might be. And then, maybe it grows 2% in between launches. And so that's going to be hard to scale and get things to go where a lot of people would like their marketing to go.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is so good. And one thing that you said that I want to talk a little bit more about, because I think it's really important because you came on and supported me with the boot camp or the podcast club that I did, and you from the get go you said, "What's the transformation?" And it's not something I like kind of had it rolling around in my head, but for to actually articulate it, I couldn't believe how much I actually came back to that while I was planning. And I had no idea I needed that. And so that was such a aha moment for me. And I think you're so right. Like I didn't even do bonuses for my mastermind because I'm like,
Yeah.
it gets to be almost too much. And then people do ask, but what am I walking away with? Like what's actually
Totally.
so
Totally.
where did this transformation thing come from? Like in all your years of experience, how did you hone in on something that's so important? And maybe you're like, oh, I didn't even realize that stood out so much.
Yeah. I mean, I think looking at a lot of successful campaigns and what they actually speak to.
Yeah.
Um, and really, when we are thinking about selling something like a digital course or maybe a certification program or a mastermind, we are selling, a transformational experience. And so really, what are they getting if this is going to be a $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 more experience? It better be life changing. It better be business changing. It better be something that's going to actually transform the results I've been able to get on my own so far. And so really speaking that language of the customer. Yeah,
Oh,
that's where we're
well,
going to go.
Alice, you're such a wealth of knowledge. So I'm so excited to dive into all things marketing today. Okay, so before I do want to dive into like your experience a little bit more and what led you to do exactly what you're doing these days. But I have to know, are boot camps and digital courses dead these days?
I mean, you would think so, by the way. Everyone is talking on the internet. No, I do not think that digital courses or boot camps, challenges, those types of conversion events are dead by any means. I think if and when the goal is to create community, to give exposure to your teaching style or your coaching style, to create like a tiny win in the case of a boot camp or a challenge. And then the clear next step is the course. Like it makes sense. Like that is a model that still works, and works well. And there are people still getting results, as you know, with that kind of model. I would say people are a little more hesitant or hard to get to a live event unless they've paid for it. So I'm a big fan of especially if we're talking about like a multi-day event, like a boot camp, um, presumably that's multi-day, having it be paid so that people have a little bit of skin in the game and it's not just, another something that they signed up to and maybe it made it on their calendar. Maybe they actually planned around it. Maybe they didn't. So I would say it's harder to get people to actually show up live to those boot camp style events. But they absolutely do still work, especially when there's, again, something specific happening during those 4 days. And then as far as actual courses, I would say something that we're seeing is the higher ticket we go, the more access to you as the creator people are going to expect and want. And so perhaps just how we're delivering courses needs to shift a little bit, to stay with audience preferences and how people are learning in this day and age. But the model itself, I mean, I wish I had exact numbers for you right now, but absolutely still growing as an industry.
I love that. And again, those that aren't working probably don't have the clear transformation anymore, right? And maybe they
Totally.
didn't spend enough time growing the audience before they went into
Yeah.
launch. So you're in it, Um, that's really exciting because I do feel like so many people are saying they're dead. But I do truly feel people do want more access to the brains behind the operation, the
Agreed.
knowledge, the expertise kind of thing, and eyes on their stuff as well.
Totally agree.
Okay, so bring us through a little bit, just briefly, your experience. I'd love to hear a little bit more, but what led you to wanting to become a marketing consultant for coaches and entrepreneurs?
Yeah. So I've been in the creator economy or online education space since 2019. And that was coming from a few years of co-founding and operating an international yoga retreat business. So having a little entrepreneurial exposure. But really got my start in this world in 2019. I reconnected with an acquaintance from college. She was a business coach, and she was, well, at the time, just looking for a content marketer. And I was getting back into the marketing world after teaching yoga full time and gallivanting around the world. And so, after some time as her content marketer, she ended up creating her signature program called Done in a Day, which helped service providers and coaches and consultants, that type of client, turn their previously like 3, maybe 6 month packages into a 1 day VIP day. And so I transitioned into her head of marketing and brought this program to market, and then relaunched it 6, maybe 7 times over the coming 3 years, got it to a 7-figure launch, and really, got the exposure to, first of all, this industry. And second of all, growing a product and, from scratch to scaling to $1 million launch. And so that was rewarding for very obvious reasons. Super fun work. The program itself and coming to like the online education space, I really just fell in love with it. I think, again, back to the transformational experiences, I think that that's something I can feel really good getting behind as a marketer, is helping specifically women share their knowledge or share their gifts of holding space or, whatever it is. And that we're not necessarily putting more products out into the world just because we can. And it's really
Mhm.
this exchange of information and this kind of growing and rising together. And so, yeah, I've just really fallen in love with this industry. And then from there, where we reconnected, it was obviously getting to work for the incredible Amy Porterfield, and getting to see the operations and be in the operations and the marketing systems behind her insane 8-figure engines, and launches, which was just so formative in how I came to really create my own point of view and my own frameworks,
Mhm.
and really get to integrate all of my experiences. And so, yeah, I went on after my time with Amy to do some consulting with some other bigger name creators behind the scenes that I'm not able to name drop, unfortunately, right now due to an NDA, but getting some more exposure to kind of some of those bigger revenue engines, and kind of hone in on my specific approach a little bit more. And so, yeah, now I'm doing consulting full time, working with coaches, creative entrepreneurs who have like a digital course, coaching program, mastermind, retreat, those types of offers that they would really love to scale their business with and see how big they can get. And I just love it.
So you've had such an amazing, really portfolio and experience in online marketing, and you've gotten to dabble in so many different areas, really. But marketing is a huge umbrella of things. And so, how do you help those female entrepreneurs scale? Like, what's your framework?
Yeah. So I take a phased approach with my clients. Don't need to get into like all of the nitty gritty here, but basically breaking it into three buckets. So, number one, our foundations, making sure that our product market fit is there and we have a messaging and positioning framework that we're able to create from. Number two, having a consistent way to be generating new leads, which we've spoken to a little bit already. And then number three, making sure that our marketing systems are actually able to scale.
Okay, I love a good phase. Like, and I've worked with female entrepreneurs who are your ideal customers, and so I can say that having those phases and that clear trajectory about where you're going and how you're getting there and how you're going to scale is so important. And so I love that you put that together. What are some of your favorite ways to generate leads these days? Like, what's working?
Yeah, I would say it's always going to be really specific to your audience, which just speaks to the importance of talking to your audience, understanding how they like to learn, how they like to consume content. I've been seeing a lot of success with like private podcasts that people can learn and listen podcasts about a specific topic that then might guide them, you know, on whatever path that might be, but that's the actual lead magnet in. Definitely traditional lead magnets still work, a guide, some sort of PDF or quiz, absolutely. I'm also seeing a lot of success with if there's an ad budget, if someone has an ad budget, running ads to a direct message conversation,
Mm.
and having a direct one-on-one conversation, whether that's with you, whether that's with a someone playing a role of like a setter in your business, and maybe delivering the lead magnet there, or inviting directly to a masterclass there from a private conversation, but really using that one-on-one channel as a way to generate the lead.
I love that. I agree that I think, again, it kind of goes back to like access to you and having those DM conversations. And it's so cool how we've evolved to having the option of voice messaging like on these platforms,
Totally.
TikTok, Instagram, all of them. And I personally, that's my favorite way. I've definitely gotten clients or just even gotten people to my podcast through having a conversation and being like, "Oh, I have 3 episodes that I can send you," or they do. So I love that you said that. I think that's a really powerful way to just like make our business and our offer more humanly. Like, there's a
Mm.
human behind this that's working very hard to make this work. Here I am. Let's have a conversation. I have time. I'm not too busy to pour into the people in my audience. So I love that you said that so much.
It's all about getting creative.
Yeah, 100%. And I will say again, like, I know we're busy as entrepreneurs, but taking the time here and there to drop somebody who, could be a potential client, a message, or it's worth it. It goes a long way. And they might not be a client tomorrow, but they might be down the road. And I think any entrepreneur who is in the launching space could definitely agree with that. So, okay, so let's talk about launching strategies these days. Like, what's working and what's not working. And did we already answer this? Because we kind of dove into this. So you just, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would say dove into it a little bit, kind of talked a little bit, went a little bit beyond just leads there with that last prompt. But I would say a general theme that I'm seeing is not relying on one big live launch for a program in a year.
Mm,
And maybe that looks, I think, for a lot of people, like mixing a couple of live launch events in with an evergreen strategy,
mm,
some sort of always available kind of component, maybe with, live cohorts twice a year, something like that. Um, I think we've spoken to boot camps and multi-day events, but I think as far as creating community, like that launch strategy is still reigns supreme in my eyes. Ends up converting extremely well.
Can you dive deeper into what do you mean by creating community?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, like, for example, for your mastermind, like a huge goal for you, and the strategy was to create that community, and so using a 4-day runway to really have people in the environment, in the room with the women that they're going to grow their podcast with and learn alongside. It's so easy to usher them into the next step. Not so easy, but it's a very natural next step for them because by the end of your glow up party, everyone's asking like, oh, we do need a community. How do we keep this going? And it's like, well, here I am to share about it. So I think, yeah, creating that up front and then inviting them to the paid version of
Mhm,
it. It's kind of a try
mhm,
before you buy type of
mhm,
situation. Other things that are working really well, I would say compounding your reach by working in partnerships, whether that's like a JV partnership, then the opportunity to have affiliates for your
mhm,
program launch or speak in other people's programs or on other people's podcasts. Really thinking outside the box about how you can reach more people with the actual launch, starting from when you're generating leads through the actual program launch. I think that those strategies are working really well in the space right now.
I love it. That honestly, that has been such a huge blessing for me to be able to get in front of different communities. And like I even just said that to my mastermind women today. I said, start thinking about how you can get in front of different communities because it is such a great way to not only grow your podcast, but then get people onto your email list. And yeah, offering
So
affiliates can be so great. Um, and I just, people are like, well, what communities? And it's again when you get in dialogue with people who you want to, look around on Instagram or whatever social platform you're using and the other entrepreneurs maybe in your space or something that's kind of parallel with what you do, just send them a message. I think you will be amazed at how many people are like excited to, oh my gosh, yeah, let's just grab a coffee and Zoom for, just like I've done that with a few people and it's turned out great. So don't be afraid to just shoot your shot. Some people will answer, some people won't, but I love that. I love that strategy and I'm glad to hear it's still working. It's like a tried and true launch strategy for sure.
totally. I mean, relationship in our
Mhm.
net worth is our network. So really learning to
Yes.
be in community. And I mean, I think that's been one of the most beautifully surprising things for me is like how happy and willing someone is always there willing to help. And then it really makes you want to be that person as well. Like help and share your platform and just support people in the ways that you can. So like, it has to go both ways, of course, but I'm just always amazed at how much people really do want to help each other out as entrepreneurs.
I also will say getting into a mastermind yourself because I've gotten into masterminds and then the woman who's leading the mastermind has me in her community and two of the women I met in the mastermind have a community and I can go in there. And so it's definitely
Yes.
worth again getting community and not only, in that way, but I just really like I'm a big fan of the masterminds these days and just especially if you're growing or you're trying to grow or things like that. So
Yeah.
and then when you go to launch or do when you're looking to scale your business and you're working with Alice, you can go to these other, people and say, who wants to be an affiliate? And then you have affiliates right at your fingertips too. So good.
Totally. All about the
Okay. So
community.
yes, you talk about nailing the foundations of a program marketing before scaling, but what does that mean and how do we do that?
Yeah. So I think foundations are everything. It's like before we're scaling to these revenue goals that feel uncomfortable for us to even talk about, we have to make sure that our foundations are locked in. So what does that mean? I'd say product market fit. Is your offer
Mhm.
and your
Yes.
audience, is their alignment there? Is this something that they're asking for? Are they getting
Mhm.
results? Are they getting that transformation?
Mhm.
Um, and really understanding, again, how to be able to speak to what the program is actually doing for your
Mhm.
ideal client. Going deep on your ideal client. So, not stopping at the women 20 to 40 who are into spirituality and calling that an ideal client profile, really diving deep into, how are they spending their day? What are their pain points when it comes to your program or what the problem that you solve? What are their desires on, a surface level? And then also like their deeper, emotional desires as it
Mhm.
relates to how you help people. What makes them tick? What makes them think I have to buy? How are they consuming content? Of course, looking at the numbers. So being, maybe we have a goal number in mind, but backing that out, looking at the actual audience number that we have, like how many people can we actually market and sell to? How many people do we need at every kind of like phase of a
Mhm.
launch to be engaged with what we're doing so that when we do, have this big launch that we're going to plan for, we kind of know how we're tracking. So I'd
Mhm.
say those are a lot of the foundational things that a lot of people, when they get excited to market a new product, just go straight to okay, I'm going to have 5 emails and, 6 social posts and
Mhm.
what have you, whatever that plan looks like. And then it's just like, we don't even have messaging frameworks that we're creating from. So we're just throwing spaghetti at the wall. We have no idea the language that our client is speaking to be able to really speak to them. So I'd say nailing the foundations is everything. And from there, we can grow, we can scale. We're not reinventing the wheel every time we
Mhm.
go to launch. We kind of know our baseline and where we're starting from.
Mhm. Okay, you are totally speaking my language because it's the same with podcasting. Like, you cannot just like shoot in the dark and hope that people resonate with it or that you can't. I just find a lot of, podcasters are just like, well, I think it's going to be a good topic. So I'm going to do a topic on, or I'm going to, do an episode. And then I'm like, okay, but how often have we asked our, so it's the same thing, but okay, can you break this down into two different ways that you would go about this? So one is somebody who's just starting out. Well, not, they might not be just starting out but they want to launch a product. So how can they go about like actually finding out some of this? You don't have to like go into like the depths of it, but a little bit about what they could do versus, do you ever do this with somebody who has a program that doesn't seem to be selling, or maybe it did sell and then it stagnated and then you want to use this same foundations thing? Like, how does it work with those two instances, I guess?
Yeah. I would say a lot of people, most people who come to me are relaunching a product that,
Mm.
yes, maybe saw some early success and growth is stagnating. I do see that a lot. Um, or the first launch did not go according to plan, but they really feel strongly about the product and, just
Mm.
there's a number of things to tweak. And obviously they don't want all of that work to be for naught. So I definitely work with a lot of folks who are relaunching or in the middle of a launch. And from there, I always start with an audit. So looking at what they're doing um, and kind of identifying where the gaps are and being able to kind of fill in maybe some holes in a customer journey or some holes in our understanding of the customer and tweaking some messaging and trying to get maybe a quick win in an audit sense like that. Someone coming wanting to launch a product for the first time or relaunch and they have, a few months to really make sure that they're getting it right. They're not in the middle of a launch. Um, like to start from scratch. So really looking at, even if it's work that you've done before, really looking at the product itself, like the actual offer, the including the price point, including, what it actually is, the full package of the offer, who it's for, going deep on the ideal client profile, looking at the positioning. I think positioning is often
Mhm.
overlooked. And not that we want to be spending all of our time and energy looking at what other people are doing. But I think it's really important to understand what other options do people have what are they considering at their point of purchase or enrollment. And that
Yep.
can be other programs that are maybe comparable or solve the same problem. It can also be your own offers that are cannibalizing, you know, a program that you're trying to launch, and you just have a lot of other things going on that other people might be opting for instead. And then from there, we're able to create messaging frameworks that can then be used across marketing assets and go into really planning the entire launch engine, getting those launch goals set, and deciding, what the assets will be to really bring people into your world for the whole launch.
Oh,
So those are kind of
I
the
love
two avenues.
so good. And I knew you worked with people who like are yeah, either struggling to scale something that had success or so that's why I wanted you to touch base on that. You've mentioned messaging frameworks a couple times. Can you just share what that is for to the audience?
Yeah, I think this is really learning to speak the language that your audience is speaking and learning to speak to, there it is again, transformation. Like, what
Yeah.
are the pain points that they're coming with and looking for solutions to, and having our messaging really speak to being that solution. And so these frameworks, look like creating a whole arc for the program. Like, what is the arc that your ideal customer goes through? And where are they before coming to you? What happens during their time in the program with you, or, in the mastermind with you? What is that kind of core narrative? And how does that translate into, 5 to 8 things, that phrases or sentences that we can then use as hooks across all of our different assets. And so that we're not reinventing the wheel every time we go to create a social post. It's like, okay, these are my 8 threads, and here's how I'm going to make sure that they're messaged appropriately
Mm.
and in a way that is going to capture the attention, to then be able to really talk about what I want to talk about.
Now, Alice, you've worked with a lot of big names in the industry that my audience I know, or anyone kind of like in the female entrepreneur space would recognize. But you're also like, I know you're very heart centered. You come from like, you're very mindset driven and you're a yoga instructor as well. So, like after working with all these big names and thinking about keeping your vision at the forefront of what you're doing, what do you think works when it's like staying true to your vision, and where are people going wrong when it comes to having this vision?
Yeah. I mean, I think you're nailing it on the head. And that's like continuing to stay true to our own vision. And whether that looks like sitting with it in meditation every single day. I think it's really easy to get excited by business. And, some of us do find the business aspect really exciting. And like, we are kind of numbers driven, and it is kind of addictive to like problem solve and find ways to grow. And we get really into the business side, and that's really fun. And maybe that is the path for some of us to go on and really see these like awesome financial numbers, revenue, success. But for a lot of us, myself included, like, we start our businesses to be able to support people, to help people with our expertise, and to be able to support like the life that we want to live, which maybe does not look like business all the time, and spending time with, head in the spreadsheets, always pushing to the next big goal. Um, and so, I mean, I guess I'm kind of speaking to myself, because I do get excited by business. I do think it's fun and
Mhm.
rewarding, and, scratches a lot of itches in my brain. But I think if we aren't careful about it, it's really easy to latch on to other people's kind of versions of success or visions of success, and start marching toward that instead of the vision that's actually truest in our own heart. And really, I think it's all about like keeping our own kind of vision of success. And, maybe there's different seasons to that, some more expansive, some a little
Mhm.
quieter. And I think, that is the long game of entrepreneurship. But I think really being aware of how easy it is to get caught up and lose that vision that we started things for.
Absolutely. I mean, you're speaking to podcasters alike because So many just start because they're so excited to share their knowledge and their heart. And then, time passes and it's like, oh, my downloads are where, there's
Totally.
not 10,000
Yeah.
people listening. And then why am I even doing this? And so I get it. Again, we always have to go back
Uh,
to the impact and also dabble in the business, right? Like you can't, I
yeah.
have worked with total opposites where it's like total head in the business, so strategic, like no wiggle room to like, oh, let's just see what happens. And it's like,
Totally. Same.
beautiful marriage to
Yeah.
find there. And you do have to find what that means for you. But I think it is important to kind of like have the pull of both and different seasons. Some seasons you'll be like strategic, head in the game. And some seasons you'll be like, and this is where the magic happens. Let's see what happens when we just, open it up and allow it to flow. So I love that.
Totally. Space
Okay,
for
Alice.
both.
Well, you've also gotten to work with podcasters, which is cool. You've worked with female entrepreneurs who have a podcast. Are you seeing any cool or unique ways that they're using their podcast as a part of the
Ooh.
launch or prior to the launch to get people ready?
Yeah. I mean, podcast, I love this because I love what you do. But having a podcast is such a marketing asset and it's an underused one, for sure. I would say my favorite way I see women using or podcasters using their show in their marketing efforts is dynamic ads. So
Mm.
actually advertising your own program or your own product on your own show. And the dynamic part is being able to temporarily place it on any episodes that you want. So you can place it on every single episode that you've ever had, just for your couple week launch or just, while you're running a lead magnet, sprint and wanting to opt in a bunch of new leads. So I would say the dynamic ad placement is, I don't know, would you say it's underused? I feel like it's underused.
Oh, I'm like, yes. I
Not with
mean,
your people, because you.
but I do have women who I'll mention it and they'll be like, what is that? They don't even know,
Yeah.
and also a lot of podcasters will be on platforms where they don't really allow, like Spotify
Oh,
for
okay.
creators. If you just use the free one, they don't really offer it.
Oh,
So
okay.
it is an underutilized
Yeah,
tool, but if you use it, that is a much better way to monetize your podcast than trying to go after all these sponsors and stuff.
totally. Yeah, right to your own program. Yeah, I would say also creating your own episode content and topics around your launch. So
Mhm.
making sure that when it's launch time, that your content is really aligned and um, guiding people toward whatever the next step might be week by week. It's multi-week kind of launch event that you have going on. And the final way I would say is like using it as a collaboration tool. So trying to go on other people's shows and doing like a swap where you can then offer, an episode on your show when, a time might be really helpful for them to come on and talk about their program or, have an episode that kind of leads into something that they're wanting to promote too. So hitting that swap and then using your show as kind of a tool to be able to, again, reach more people by being able to offer that swap.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it is such a great way to create relationships and to go further. I mean, you spend
Yes.
30 minutes to 45 minutes together hanging out, having a conversation. Um, and then something will come from that often. And you can always kind of, email them or DM them and just going above and beyond and creating that relationship. It's a really great way to just ask some people that you really admire on a call to get to know them, to learn from them. I mean, that's the benefit. So I love it. Alice, thank you so much. You have so many exciting things happening. So where can my listeners go to find you?
Yes. Come hang out with me on Instagram. Officially started a business Instagram, so that's fun. It's Alice __ Zarka. And you can check out my website, just alicezarka.com. And I do free strategy calls. So if you have a course, program, mastermind, anything like that that you're launching this year, I'd love to chat with you about it.
Amazing. We'll link all of that up. Thank you so much for being here, Alice. I love what you're doing. I think it's really, really important. And I know that people in my community are going to be using you for sure. So
Oh, yay. Thank you so much for having me on. It's just, yeah, such a pleasure to get to speak with you in this capacity. I'm so grateful that you had me on your show. And yeah, thank you, Kylie.